And I was born in a 3-storey house, which sounds posh, but like most people, we only had 3 rooms in this house. We had a kitchen, a bedroom and the best room. And the best room we weren't allowed in. Mum kept the best room polished. It always smelled of mansion polish. She was always cleaning the windows and changing the curtains, but that was only used if anybody came, like the local vicar or someone like that. So we had this gas lighting, but we had no water in the flat. As I say, it was a 3-storey house, and Mr. Gray, his name was, he was a landlord. He lived downstairs in the bottom 3 rooms, and above us, on the 3rd floor, lived another family called the Pleasants. Yeah, I'm sure their name was Pleasant. And the water tap, Mr. Gray, the landlord, had a water tap in his kitchen, but the only other water tap was in the backyard. And actually, we couldn't go in Mr. Gray's kitchen getting all our water, so we had to go into the backyard to get our water. So all the clean water had to be brought in, and all the dirty water had to be carried out. And also in the back garden was the toilet, and it was the only toilet we had, was for 3 families, so everybody had to use this one outside. And everybody was the same. We didn't feel as if we were any different to anybody else, and we weren't. But this is just the way we grew up. And we enjoyed it. We didn't know much about anything else. We lived in, this was Old Ford, and as I say, 1929. There were no council houses about then. There were a few blocks of like Guinness buildings and things like that being built, but they were farther up in Whitechapel and places like that. But we had nothing round here, so it was all private landlords. So everybody lived in these sort of houses where there was 2 or 3 families, sometimes more. And we were lucky because before us, there were a lot of families living in 1 room. And I don't remember going hungry. I don't even remember thinking I was poor. In fact, I wasn't. We were all the same. No one was any different, and you didn't think of being poor. Everybody was so friendly, and all these places were like little villages. We knew everyone that lived here. Everyone in the street was uncle or aunt. You know, I mean, they were only friends. You didn't learn until you was a lot older who they were, like, you know, that they weren't relations. But if you went down Roman Road and crossed over the Canal Bridge into Bethnal Green, it was like going to a different country. People seemed different in those places. Even going across Bow Road, it seemed like it was another country. Well, it didn't even not as far as that. If you went up to Fairfield Road and went under the railway arch into Tredegar Square and places like that, this was where the posh people lived. This was different entirely. I mean, my dad worked in Binnersgate Market like all the family had. My grandfather, my uncle, his father, I ended up there. So we always had fish if we had nothing else. And there were so many small industries around here, all sorts. All along the canal were mainly something to do with timber. There were timber yards, furniture factories, all along there. But I remember all the smells. You could walk along and know where you were by the smells of the chemical factory, the glue factory, the pickle factory. And there was a lot of homework. I mean, my grandmother was always on it. I mean, Brighton and Mays used to send out matchboxes to be made. They sent out all the pieces and people would sit down for hours sticking them all together. And I think they got 2p a gross for them, like 144. And there was also, I mean, we used to go to visit my grandmother who lived in Ladbroke Road. She lived down the area. We'd go down the area, open the door, walk in into her kitchen, and she'd be sitting there, and while you were talking to her, you were doing homework for her as well. They started pulling down terraced houses and rebuilding and putting up these monuments that changed the whole area. It did change so much then. I mean, as I said, it had been a community where people would sit at their doorsteps talking to each other, or they'd have a chair out. I mean, my grandmother, or my paternal grandmother lived in a house that opened straight onto the street, you know, the street door onto the pavement. And she would have a chair outside there and she would sit there and she would talk to people as they come past and knew everybody. And on a Sunday, she would take potatoes or whatever she was doing to the local pub. And she was sitting there having a drink while she was peeling her potatoes. And it was, and as I say, people lived so differently then. Oh, there was a lot of horses and carts on the streets. Oh yeah, I mean well, everybody used to come round with them. You'd have, well, milk, well, all the different, as I say, the coal man used to come round with his horse and cart. You'd have people come round doing vegetables and things like that. And you had so many people and cries coming round. I mean, if they didn't have horse and cart or a pony and cart, they had the wheelbarrow that they wheeled things round the street selling. You know? I mean, Sunday mornings, it's all well known now, and it was always the shellfish people used to come round. And they'd come round pushing their barrows, and you would know it was Sunday because they'd be shouting out, winkles, winkles and shrimps, winkles, cockles, you know. There was all those cries going on all the time, you go out and buy them. Roman Road was great. Roman Road was really great. There was such a variety of things. And I remember of a night time, they said there was no electricity then. You didn't have electric lights. You had the few gas lights about. And at Christmas time, all the turkeys hanging up with this light behind it. And it used to be really great. And you had so many, once again, the street cries, selling things. Everything was fun. Everybody was making jokes, and you know, it was really great, and they knew everybody. I mean, even when my children were small, my wife would go shopping, and every store she went to, more or less, they would know him and say, "Oh, how is he today?" and talk to him, and very like to give him a sweet and things like that. You know. Customers were always the main thing down there. People looked after customers. They made a fuss of customers. They made sure that things went well for customers. But it's not like that now anymore. It's just not the variety that there used to be. There used to be all sorts down there. Well, we did go over Victoria Park. Oh, it was a fantastic place. It was just somewhere where you could go over there, you could spend the day there. And there were so many different things there. Behind the cafe, joined onto the back of it, was a bandstand where they used to have bands playing. And below that, going down, that drop down, was a dance floor. It was only asphalt sort of thing on the floor, but that was where they used to dance. Or if a band was going there, like some of the big bands went there and played, and people all paid to go there. And you didn't have to pay really, because you could stand around the outside and watch it and listen to it. So it was all right. But and on a Saturday, you'd see women going over, all carrying their gold shoes or their silver shoes over their arms, going over there to dance as if they were going to some ballroom or other, you know. But they used to really love it. And there was something going on all the time, you know. Yeah, this is the way things have changed. They had so many different animals over there. In one part, they had guinea pigs, and they also had a deer pen with deer in and things like that. You could take the children over to see it. There was rabbits that they could feed, and there was all that going on there. Then someone got in there and vandalised it one time and killed all the animals. Why? I don't know. And I don't know what these people think or how they live to do a thing like that, you know. So we've lost all the things that kept us as a community, really, you know. No, we used to have great times over there with our children.